In my favorite movie, Ford versus Ferrari, Matthew McConaughey famously said, "Cargo vroom vroom."
He's not even in that movie. It's Christian Bale.
Matthew McConaughey, in his one cameo in Ford versus Ferrari, said, "Cargo vroom vroom." Okay, first thing. It's video game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
My name is David.
Listener, I need you to, wherever you're listening from, open up your phone or whatever you're listening onto and just sort of like look at the podcast that you're listening to. There has been a major seismic tectonic level shift in the visual appeal of our art. Before, you might have looked at it and said, that looks amateur at best. Now you're witnessing high art coming from this here podcast art.
It looks great.
It looks fucking great.
It looks really good.
We commissioned the great and talented and hardworking Scout Wilkinson to make podcast art, and look at the results, for God's sakes.
Yeah, unless you're driving, then don't look.
Don't look at the results if you're driving. If
Pull
you're
over
driving
or wait, then look.
If you're driving, just imagine like the coolest drawing you can. The coolest little bit of art for this podcast, and that's this.
Visually
this
describe it, Chase. Verbally describe it.
Okay.
Paint
great.
a picture.
It's fucking cool.
Ooh.
That's the description. That's all you get.
It's fucking cool. Is it like a dinosaur wearing sunglasses cool, or like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson T-boning a triceratops cool?
It's more like a metaphorical representation of this podcast cool, which me personally, for my buck, that's pretty cool.
Dog with sunglasses on.
There are no dogs with sunglasses on, which is fine.
But that is our podcast vibe.
Yeah, I think spiritually, about like 50 episodes ago, we did sort of settle that was a very good vibe to aim for. Scout went with the representation of us finding these dead, old, nasty video games under the ground and giving them their moment in the sun. Are you kidding? Are you kidding with that metaphor? It's hard for me to explain this podcast in human, normal English words, let alone visually.
The power of art has really spoken to Chase.
My God, I'm high on art this week.
Chase is about to visit a museum.
Have you guys heard of this? Like paint? Shit's crazy. Visual art? I'm feeling emotions.
3D art?
I'm moved. I'm feeling emotion just based on what I'm seeing. That is nuts. Anyway,
it's a very human thing.
Thank you, Scout Wilkinson. My God.
Looks great.
It looks
really
fucking good. And I bet every person listening right now who is not driving is like,
hey, I agree.
With that sense. So just had to get that out in front. I didn't want the thank you to be buried in the end of the show. Everybody needs to know.
We're leading with it. We're leading with our thank yous this week.
Anyway, hell yeah. This is now a fan cast for that specific bit of art that Scout has produced.
Should we just do a backward cast? Should we do our
whoa, yeah.
Pod wisdom of the week, video game wisdom of the week?
And then we slowly talk about, in very high regards, a specific game, then the logistics of its release, and then talk about the video games. Now that I'm saying out that out loud, that's not obscene.
It's not too bad.
That's not too bad. Hey, listen, David.
Yes.
Have you been playing video games?
I have been. Playing video games.
Please, I'm dying for these games.
It's a lot of the same. Forza and Halo.
Yeah, same.
I'm a Microsoft boy right now. I got my vaccine. Bill Gates has his chip inside of my body, remotely controlling me to buy his system and then buy Game Pass indefinitely. I gave them my credit card number, and I have no plans of telling them to stop charging me $15 a month for this service.
It's pretty sick that the vaccine is like it controls you, but like it's still pretty pleasurable. Like, yeah, Game Pass is still worth your money, despite the fact that I'm a bill boy, as they say.
A bill boy.
A bill boy. You know, for all my bill heads out there.
Can I be a Bilbo?
You can be a Bilbo. I will be a bill boy.
Bill Boy and Bilbo.
None of this means anything. What is the difference between a Bilbo and a Bill Boy, David?
A bill boy is like a bimbo bill boy.
Huh.
A
Yeah.
bill boy is a bimbo bill boy.
You used the word in your definition.
Bilbo
Okay.
is a bimbo bill boy.
Okay. So the base definition is bill boy.
Yes.
And then a bilbo is a bill boy, but who is a bimbo?
Or a himbo, I guess, in my...
A himbo, yeah, exactly.
For me. Whereas a bill boy is just like a big Bill Gates stan, I guess.
Yeah. It's good. That's good. That's good podcasting.
This is good humor. This is good humor, right? All my bill heads, where you at?
All my bill heads. It's weird that they divide the bill boys based on like who's the most bimbo-y or not. That's weird that they have a specific word for that.
It's not that you are defined as one of those, but it's more like, oh, he's being just a Bilbo over there. If they're like too into Bill, you know, then they're being a Bilbo. And be like, calm down. You're just being a Bilbo right now.
We're doing a great disservice to Bilbo Baggins, honestly. Like, my man put in the work, and we're just over here reclaiming it in the worst way possible.
Hey, artistic license, right? That's what that means.
It's calm. It's fair use, I think. I think that's what fair use means.
Chase, this is art right now, please. I'm inspired by Scout.
Hey, this week I discovered art. I have no idea what any of this means, and it's fucking cool. My
eyes have never seen anything like this.
I've only ever known the shadows on this cave wall, David, and I have come out of the cave. This is a shocking revelation.
I mean, to someone who codes all the time, art must be pretty stimulating.
It's assaulting on my senses.
Yeah.
I need just a plain white room to do my work.
What is this beautiful abstract communication that you're trying to tell me right now? Where are the zeros and ones? Where is the logic in this?
It's beautiful yet challenging. Okay, yeah. Hold on. I have also been playing Forza and Halo, and also don't have a lot to say about them other than I like them still.
They're still fun. They're still good games.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it on that front.
Yeah.
But I did download and dip my toes a little bit into DEEEER Simulator.
DEEEER Simulator.
It's the newest simulator game. I don't know if this is the same company making all these games or if it's different companies making these games, but it's very much like Goat Simulator or any other animal simulator game where it's just like this very blocky art style, purposefully derpy and kind of bad looking, with janky ass physics, janky ass gameplay, everything just a little jank. Everything's jank, but for the purpose of just creating hilarious moments of just chaos and mayhem.
It looks interesting. This is a recent release. This came out in like a week ago.
Yeah, I saw it on Game Pass and I watched the trailer. The trailer was like, what got me with the trailer was that it felt like Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, pretty much anything striking there is a must play.
Yeah, anything. It felt unhinged in like a good kind of crazy fun way.
It's hard to hit that balance. I feel like you can be a little like XD random, but it's hard to be fun random and like genuine.
Yeah. So I recommend watching the trailer if you haven't. Actually,
I'm currently watching it. It's happening right now.
I guess my issue with these games is that I want to like them a lot more than I ever end up doing. Actually, maybe it's because I'm playing them by myself and I need to be playing them with someone else in the room. Like it's kind of like a couch co-op game that's single player. Really.
Yeah.
Part of the fun is being like, oh my God, like what the fuck just happened? What did I just, how did I like explode into the air like 500 feet and then land on somebody and kill them?
Yeah.
You know, weird stuff like that. It's a social game, but it's single player, which is interesting. But
yeah,
it was fun to kind of like run around and use my weird extendy neck to
I was just
like
going to
traverse the town like Spider-Man a little bit.
It looks like there's some Spider-Man mechanics.
Spider-Man stuff. You can get like swords. Your sprint button just makes you stand up on two legs and go like this as a deer and just like
chest
run
out,
super fast. Very, very disturbing and entertaining at the same time. But also it's one of those games which just is extremely hands off and it's just like, just go figure it out. Yeah. Which I kind of don't have the patience for as a working man anymore, unfortunately. Just like tell me how to unlock your secrets and I will do it, but don't just like let me toil around in my own futility to actually get to something good. That's just my opinion.
Need a little direction,
But it was fun to kind of muck around in for a bit.
Nice. It looks fun, honestly. And like Again, that's the perfect niche for a Game Pass game where like you will feel no guilt if you stop playing this game after like an hour or whatever.
Yeah, that was pretty much all it took for me. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm out. But if it's just your kind of jam, Goat Simulator type of thing, there are other simulator games, aren't there? There's Goat Simulator.
There's a lot of simulator games, yeah.
But yeah, if you like these type of games, give it a shot. Pretty good, pretty fun.
I definitely think that there's like the distinction between the simulator games that are actually kind of serious, like Farming Simulator and shit like that, where it's
This is actually not a simulator game. It's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, which is it's a very odd genre that there's like both games with pretty much the same suffix of simulator, of Farming Simulator or like Truck Driver Simulator or whatever, and then games like this or Goat Simulator that are like literally the exact opposite. Sick. Have you been playing anything else?
That's it.
Halo, Forza, and DEEEER Simulator.
It's been a weird, weird pickings this week.
Yeah, weird lineup you've got.
Weird lineup I got. Yeah.
Find the connection between these three.
2 AAAs and just like janky ass indie.
AAAs and a triple E game.
A triple E. What about you, Chase? What have you been playing?
Listen, me, I had a full week off of work. I did not take a vacation or go anywhere. What I did was play video games. Because they're good. I like a video game, if you couldn't tell. So let's see. Let's start at the top. I've also been playing Forza and Halo. I have almost nothing new to say about Halo other than like cool that they're taking another look at their XP system. Forza I've been playing more of. I feel like I'm like getting deeper into that game. I did one of the Goliath race or another one of the Goliath races, and those were really fun. I like won a couple of those. I think I had said I had tried to do one last week, but like my cars weren't good enough, but I've since gotten better cars. And so I was able to do those. And it was, it's a blast racing, just like the highest end fast car that you can around the entire map. What's
your highest rated car, Chase?
I think I have an S2. I don't have an X yet because I'm not rich enough. I spent all my money on the house that lets you fast travel. And so I just like totally blew all my
I got
CR.
that one too.
I like driving in this game and I like being able to go from one place to another, but like I need the fast travel.
Yeah,
I cannot climb that mountain another time. I need to just be able to be at the top of it.
Same. That was the first house I bought too. But just take one of your S2 cars and just custom upgrade it to everything being the highest.
Yeah,
and you get an X.
Nice.
And it's just like, it feels like Mario Kart then.
Yes, no, I was noticing that the really fast cars, like they have such amazing traction that it ends up feeling like a Mario Kart game. It's so much fun. Like you are racing 150 cc's in Mario Kart, but in Forza. It's so cool.
And then you're going like 250 miles an hour on these freeways and you're just like, oh my God.
It's ridiculous. Like a wayward tip of the stick will turn you into just like mush on the side of the road. You have to be so careful.
Oh, it's so good. The sense of speed is very top notch in that game. Top notch in that game.
It's really good. It's definitely one of the Forza games that I'm enjoying the most. Forza Horizon games that I'm enjoying the most since like probably the first or second one. I don't remember which one was which, but one of them like essentially was just like a similar vibe of like it being kind of like a music festival. And it's just very good, but I haven't fallen this hard into one of them in quite some time. It's just good. It feels good.
Yeah, this one in particular, as far as racing game goes, just feels kind of special.
It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what the differences between this one and like say a previous one are, but it just I think the game feel is incredible. It feels really good to race every time that I race.
Yeah, I've seen some people talk about how they have changed the controls just a little bit since Forza 4, Horizon 4, that from what I've read, people say is a good change. It makes it feel a little tighter. A little tighter.
I think that's probably true. Like, yeah, it feels really good in every circumstance to race. I just recently got into the street and road racing part of this game. I've almost entirely been focusing on the dirt and off-roading.
Oh, the dirt is so
The dirt's really good.
The dirt is so good. This jungle is my favorite place in that game for sure.
Yeah. It's great. Like the ones or the races where you're able to like go off all these jumps and come around like these dirt corners that have like no traction on them. You flying through like water and rivers and shit like that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But again, for my money, I still enjoy the motorsport version of these games. And so like when I got into street racing, I was like, okay, now we're talking my language.
Here we go.
This is good.
This is my love language.
Fast cars are my love language. Racing good is my love language. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on Forza because it's very much stuff that I've already said in other episodes, but it's good. It's a good video game still. I'm still enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
I've also still been playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. I think I'm through the 7th gym. Team Galactic is back on their bullshit. I'm currently fighting them. What's going on in this video game? I don't know. Like, I haven't really gotten to the part of the game that I'm like super enthused about.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, like I said last week, I enjoy the end game of a Pokemon game where I'm just hunting for the last few pokes and the ones that are hard to catch.
Just hunting for the last members of Team Galactic. The most dangerous game.
It's human hunting. We don't stop the fight when the Pokemon have fainted, my friend.
I mean, has anybody ever tried using a Pokeball on a human?
I feel like there was always some dark rumors going around the schoolyard about this, but I don't think they've addressed this in the show canonically.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't know. I haven't seen the middle seasons. Who knows what Ash got up to in season 7?
Ash's darker years, his dark period.
Oh, God.
Feels bad.
Yeah,
Let's get off this topic.
Yeah,
Anyways, sure. Pokemon.
So it is still good. I'm still enjoying it. Like it's still fairly easy, I'd say. Like the having the experience share on is just like it makes the game a lot easier to level up in.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard that the Elite Four are like punishing, so I'm sort of waiting for that encounter. Specifically, Cynthia.
That's what I've heard. Is she the champion?
I think so. Her and her Garchomp, I've heard her a pretty brutal encounter. I don't know how that's going to go for me. It's sort of odd to have a game be mostly easy and then have just like a brutal encounter at the end of it. We'll see. I'm still going to keep playing it. I have been paying attention to that conversation about the game being too easy online. I don't know if you've like seen any of this.
No, I haven't actually.
Essentially, a lot of folks have just said like the changes that they've made to the numbers in the EXP share has made the game too easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this weird version, it feels like to me, of the accessibility conversation that you see pop up around Dark Souls, where there is usually intentionality in the difficulty of Dark Souls, but people oftentimes, and I think rightfully, ask for a version of Dark Souls that it's not quite as difficult, and I think that's a fair request. But you also see this applied in this game, where it is almost the mirror image of that, where this game is quite accessible. It is quite straightforward to play through, and there are people screaming about that it needs to be like a much harder and more challenging experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the solution in both situations is just like add some more options for people.
Yeah.
You know, the ability to turn off experience share, I think, would probably satisfy the people who are most frustrated about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would probably help to do for Pokemon to have like a difficulty slider if you want it.
Sure.
You know, this could be their normal or whatever. But if you have a hard, maybe people are leveled higher throughout the game.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be pretty easy to add a difficulty slider for Pokemon. You know, nothing is like time based. It's all just crunching numbers at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like you would either have to, I think there's the harder challenge of making the enemies more intelligent, right? Like I feel like a lot of the time I'll throw out a water type Pokemon and then a guy throws out his Geodude, and then like the smart move probably is to just like take Geodude out, do something else. Like that's not going to go good for you, but oftentimes they'll just let him die out there. And so like that's probably a harder thing to figure out as far as AI goes. Not impossible, but harder. Yeah, I think the easier solution is just like make the levels a little bit higher and then make the return on experience a little bit lower than it would be normally. So like you're forced to fight these enemies at a little bit lower of a level.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah, just from the perspective of like I think that the solution of more accessibility there is the solution. That this game feels like you were saying, there's no like twitch action that you have to do in this game.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of stuff that is like super difficult to do as far as input goes. As far as like time goes, you don't have to sink nearly as many hours as you did originally into this to get through it, right? It's still like a fairly long game, you know, compared to something like, I don't know, Bloodborne or something where you have to put in hours to really like grok the mechanics. This one you kind of don't, right? Like you can just kind of continually experience the game. And so like I partially agree that like it would be cool if they added some stuff in here, but I think if like this is a better base experience if you're going to go with one of those. If you're not going to offer any options for like how hard a game can be, then like default to it being less difficult, right? Like so more people can experience it.
Yeah.
Because like I like hard Pokemon games, but like I'm totally cool with this model too, where it's like a little bit less challenging.
Yeah.
Obviously, this isn't to speak of any of the actual accessibility stuff, right? Like the game doesn't have a lot as far as like speech to text or colorblind modes or anything like that you see coming out of like modern accessibility options.
Thank you for including colorblind mode.
Of course. I've been playing more and more games that are like very specific in their inclusion of colorblind modes.
Yeah, it really has fucked me up before.
yeah. So that's good to see. But yeah, I mean, Pokemon doesn't historically, and this one hasn't offered a big suite of accessibility. But I am more okay with the base experience being one that is defaulting towards a quote unquote easier game. I just think you're going to get people who love Pokemon and don't give a shit, and people who maybe would have bounced if it was harder. You get both those groups.
Yeah.
And then the people who really want it more difficult either say, fuck this, and don't play that game, or they stick with it and they're like, it's fine. I don't care.
I want it more difficult, but it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Game Freak and Nintendo have all that data, and that's why they're doing this.
Probably. I mean, like, you can just look at the sales data, man.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the games that were harder sold fine, but the games that are less harder are making a lot of money. And so
there are games that are really targeted towards kids, which is really why they're easier.
Yeah. Which, again, I have no problem with a game being made for somebody else. Like, I'm getting a Pokemon experience. It probably wouldn't be my top one. I'm hoping for Arceus to be like a really good thing that I really enjoy personally, but yeah, I'm getting something, and I'm totally cool with what it is. What else? I have also been playing a video game named Mortal Shell.
Oh, that's on Game Pass, isn't it?
This is on Game Pass. Mortal Shell is a game by the developers Cold Symmetry. This is a game that came out sort of middle of last year in 2020. I don't want to describe this disparagingly, but like it is very much a Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
Like really, really similar. And not in the ways that are, seemed like they're influenced. Like this game is going so specifically for like, if you blinked and didn't know that this was not a FromSoft game, like, would you believe us if we said it was? And so, like, that part of it is interesting. So, yeah, just to explain, like, it is very similar to a Dark Souls game in that you start out and you have very simple fighting mechanics and you're fighting through hordes of dudes. And then if you die, you go back to a checkpoint and all those dudes are respawned. And eventually there are bosses that are quite challenging. And even the enemies, the base enemies, are quite challenging. This game changes it up a little bit in that you are at your like character's core. You're, I guess, like you're this character that's it looks like just like a white muscle skeleton.
Oh,
it looks like a Promethean or an engineer from that like Alien, like from Prometheus.
Yeah, I got you.
And like that's fun, but the point being is that you find these like what I assume are dead like humans that you go and like inhabit essentially. And so you can find a handful of people that are just sort of laying around that you can inhabit. And they're specific, right? Like it's not just anybody. And each of them fit into different like archetypes of how somebody plays, right? Like you got your first one sort of like your regular warrior dude. And the second one I found at least was like kind of like faster and had a higher stamina meter. And so that's the way you sort of go through it initially. It is unlike most of the Dark Souls entries in that there aren't necessarily like stats, like hard numbered stats that you improve. It is closer to Sekiro in that there are abilities that you unlock as you go farther through the game. And as a consequence, the game, like Sekiro, is incredibly difficult. Like it's really hard. You can't just sort of get to a certain point and be like, I'm just going to grind a few levels out to make me hit a little harder. It's very much like you gotta be good. I think Sekiro, I was totally cool with them doing that just because the game was just like sublime in the mechanics that it had. Like it felt very good to wield a sword in Sekiro. It was just like, this is it, man. Like the parrying and sort of the timing of it all, the sort of like fake outs that you could do where you raise your sword and come back and sort of dodge. Like it just all felt really, really good.
Yeah, great game.
I think this one gets close, but I think also because it is so closely going after a specific genre, it is incredibly difficult not to compare it directly to that thing.
Oh yeah, that's fair, I would say.
We talked about this with Humankind earlier in the year, the game that looked and played a lot like Civilization, and I had similar feelings about that one of like, it's hard for me in my own head to judge this game on its own, like in a vacuum, because I'm like, would this be good if I didn't already have the experience with these other games, or would I enjoy it more? I have no idea. And I think because it's not like specifically a FromSoft game, not like because it doesn't have the stamp of FromSoft on it, but because there are certain things that I come to expect from that genre, that anything that differs from that is very difficult to digest in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's still an enjoyable game and still pretty fun, but I don't know, like, so if you take something like Jedi Fallen Order, that game is Dark Souls adjacent. Right? Like,
yeah,
the fighting in it feels kind of Dark Soulsy in the way that you kind of, your swings are heavy, and you kind of have to be specific with your timing and all the sort of checkpoint stuff. Like, there's Dark Souls in there, but that's not the main thing that I feel like Jedi Fallen Order is doing, right? A lot of it is we're telling this like Star Wars specific story that is really interesting, you know, depending on your perspective on it, but at least that's, you know, that's something that it is attempting to do. And there are like kind of, you know, Dark Soulsy mechanics in there, but that's one of many mechanics that are in there. It's not the only thing. Whereas this one, it very much feels like they're trying to be Dark Souls very specifically, and like they get close. I like, credit where credit is due. Like, this game it feels like a FromSoft game. It's just like, in my own head, it's hard for me to sort of like relax in a weird way, and just like play the thing. I did for a while, and I think I enjoyed my time with it, but I was also kind of stoked that like, all right, Game Pass, like this feels like a good Game Pass game. If I can sort of like drop in here and feel good about it and have fun, whereas like if I bought it, I might feel a little bit, maybe I need to push through and see if there's like some real good stuff later or not.
Like, where's the stuff that's worth my money in here?
Kind of, yeah. Like it's sort of a bummer feeling, because I don't like judging a game based on its value, like monetarily. But I think Game Pass does offer a world where I can have a good experience with a game and that be kind of it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of conflicted on this one. I like, there are good things about it and good things that I've enjoyed about it, but I think it's hard for me to get on board with like just trying to do like a cover of another game, you know? It feels a little bit like it's hard not to judge it for like it's either differences or the choices that it makes differently, and hard not to say like, is that intentional? Is that good? It doesn't, like, for example, it doesn't have the like Estus flask sort of concept in this one, meaning that there isn't this thing that you can go and whenever you die, your health flask recharges. Demon Souls didn't have this either. Like it was an exclusion from that game. You had like herbs that you ate that were like a resource that you had to go and buy eventually. But most of the other Dark Souls games and Bloodborne and all that sort of shit, it has these like refillable flasks that refill whenever you go back to a bonfire. And that it feels so core to me to any of the Dark Souls games that like, here's a marker for how many times you can heal. And it's an incredible way to judge, am I not prepared for this place because I'm getting hit so fucking hard? Yeah. But I have to like refill my health after getting hit once.
Yeah.
Or do I feel not prepared for this area? You know, am I going in the wrong direction? Or do I need to practice more or anything like that? There are ways to heal in this one, but they come in different places. And so it sort of challenges my understanding. And if it was a game that had totally different mechanics, it probably wouldn't bother me at all. Because like, why would I be mad that Mega Man X doesn't have a fucking Estus flask? Like, that's fine. That's not how the game works. But it's just because it's right next door to all these Dark Souls games that I'm making those comparisons. And so it, again, I think I made this comparison about Humankind, but it feels kind of like you're playing with fire whenever you make a game that is so close to another, because any change that is made is going to feel dramatic in comparison.
Yeah. Like, why did you deviate here?
Yeah. Like what's the decision? And then immediately you're forced under the conclusion of, do I like this or don't I like this? Whereas like, I don't, same sort of deal. I don't play Uncharted and I'm like, where's my big sword, dude? Why can't I use my big clanking sword? That's not what I'm thinking when I'm playing through that game. Anyway, it's worth a shot if you like are into like Dark Soulsy games. I've heard people that like really like this model more than Dark Souls. And so it's interesting for that reason. So yeah. I played Mortal Shell.
Nice.
I obviously also played Satisfactory. This is the factory building and automation game. This is the automation and factory building game that I've fallen headlong into. It sort of explains.
Get some new boots?
I didn't get new boots, but I did unlock the jetpack and the hovercraft.
Ooh, damn. All right.
Pretty sweet. Got my oil rigs all sorted out. I'm not fucking with coal as an energy source anymore.
Hell, you going green, baby.
I'm attempting to go green. green. I'm not actually sure that there's a good way to go green. Or no, I think you can use nuclear power at some point.
Nice.
Anyway, I had said a while ago that my goal was to get to the hovercraft, because it's sort of like it's still in early access, this game, and so it's not fully out, right? The hovercraft is one of the most recently released parts of the game, and as such, it's like the farthest along you can really get at this point without being like, okay, that's it. And so I got the hovercraft and sort of set up an automated thing where the hovercraft goes up, goes over, and like can collect some resources and comes back.
Yeah,
it's all very tangible, the way that you have to like program it kind of to do that. It's not just like go get something. It's like you gotta build another port wherever you want it to go and wire all your resources into the port.
Sure.
And have to go collect those, which is fine. But anyway, I hit that milestone and definitely was like, okay, I think I'm good with this game.
You're
and
done.
like I turned off the game and I shut it down.
Whoa.
I was like, I think I'm good with Satisfactory. I like did it.
5 minutes later.
5 minutes later, I downloaded Dyson Sphere program, David.
What? Whoa, what is this?
We got another one, baby. We got another game.
Oh my god, dude. What is this one?
So Dyson Sphere program.
Dyson Sphere Pro. You're just getting progressively more and more esoteric names. Satisfactory, at least I can understand. Like, it's a satisfying factory. Sure. Dyson Sphere Programmer. That sounds like it could be like your title of a job on LinkedIn or something.
That's true, yeah. Senior Dyson Sphere Programmer.
Yeah.
So I had mentioned this on a podcast recently that this was a video game that was like in the same genre, and I thought Dyson was literally just the name of the vacuum company. But our good friend Garen texted me that the Dyson Sphere is like a sci-fi concept where you build like this big rig around a sun to like properly harness all of its energy.
Garen with the knowledge.
For real, I was impressed on that one. I hadn't heard of this, but essentially that is this video game. You spawn into a world. It's like a randomly generated universe, and you land on a planet and you're just this like mech. It's like a top-down sort of view. You're this big mech, and it's like, okay, our goal is to harness the power of the suns in this solar system and then, the galaxy at large. And so you got to build enough stuff to do that. And it is fairly slow going at first, right? Like at first you're literally just mining iron and tin and copper and all that sort of shit. So similar to Satisfactory in that way, in that it starts kind of slow, but obviously like Satisfactory is a first person game and is a little bit more focused on like the survival aspect of it. Like you have health and you run into enemies in Satisfactory. Dyson Sphere program, I have not run into a bad guy yet. You have to like manage the energy of your mech because they like have to use like fuel to be alive. So like that's a thing you have to manage, but that's very easy to do. You just like chop down a few trees and put it into your like chest to burn for a while, and that's fine.
Sure.
By and large, this game is much more focused on the building of a factory and the automation part of Satisfactory. And I'm really glad I played these games in this order. I don't think I would have enjoyed this game if I hadn't played Satisfactory first. Satisfactory is just like, it was so enjoyable and felt just like a very tangible and like urgent experience in first person, where I'm running around the base physically and it's huge.
Yeah, you're in there.
Yeah, versus like Dyson Sphere program, it's a little bit removed, right? Like you're top down and it feels a little bit farther away. And yeah, it's a little bit less personal, it feels like, than Satisfactory is. But all that said, still loving it. Still enjoying this game. You start probably like, what's the word for this? Like I guess a little bit more farther technologically. Like you immediately you have like auto mining rigs and things to pull oil out of the ground, and your mech can like fly.
This is in the future.
It's in the future, yeah. And so like I'm finding the same sense of satisfaction of being able to automate the construction of parts and research to be still really enjoyable. That part of this game is still really good, and again, not something that I've found myself enjoying at all in the past. I really didn't think that these kind of games would be fun for me, but it's very ding boyish, so I'm not surprised.
It's your thing, baby.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in the past couple episodes, but it just felt like, because this game can feel a little bit like work, it would have not felt great to play. But I think that these kind of games give me the sense that a good day at work feels like.
Sure.
Where I don't really have to dig that hard to make something work very well.
Mhm.
And like you really get that sense of satisfaction of like, okay, I'm like my hands are off at this point and this thing is running on its own. Versus like at work, that is not always the case. There are a lot of hiccups with programming and shit like that. And a lot of situations where like it's not working in the way that I want it to. And like, why? Why is it not doing the thing? Whereas like in these games, like you can see the iron just isn't going into the factory.
Yeah.
Like why? Gotta go figure that out. It's very
The frustration isn't hiding from you.
No, the game definitely like shows you what is going wrong. This game is, I wouldn't say chipper, but it feels kind of optimistic in the tone that it's setting. The other one, like it has a little bit of tongue in cheek in the way that it's presenting itself. Like you're clearly an employee of like a big giant space conglomerate. Whereas this one's like, you're just kind of a humble little robot who's coming to like try and get some more energy out of a sun. You're not like destroying the sun. It's possible to kind of like fuck up a planet and just turn it into this like metal, brutal place where it's just extracting ore. But I don't think the game focuses on that hard enough or like really at all to make it feel like a bummer. Like you're just destroying a natural landscape. There's no like animals or anything running around to your where you're like, oh, this feels bad.
Yeah.
And the music is like, you know, awfully like encouraging and it feels good.
Sure.
And so like
major tones, major keys.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like what the 90s thought technology was going to be in like 30 or 40 years. Where like it's kind of optimistic in the way that they're like looking at it.
Joke's on you. It's just a bunch of social media that makes you want to kill your neighbor. Yay. Fuck.
And so in that way, it's kind of nice to just not have to like grapple with the morality of it all that hard. And to just be able to build kind of like a cool little factory.
Cool factory. All right.
Yesterday, I got to the point in the game where it's like, I've been on the same planet most of the time that I've been playing it for, I think like 10 hours at this point. And you, in your mech, you have to like go to other planets in the system, like physically pilot your mech there, which was very frightening the first time I did it, because like it's just like, okay, press spacebar once you're flying to like exit the planet. And I was expecting it to launch into some kind of like automated view, but you're just out there in space and you're just sort of floating forward. I'm like, oh fuck, do I have to like
it out in space?
Yeah, I was like, shit, do I have to like do this? And yeah, it like makes you like point your mech in the right direction. And then I sped up a lot, which caused my like energy to burn quite a bit. And I was like, oh shit, I have like nothing to burn. I didn't know that this was going to use this much energy. Of course it does. But I was like, fuck, I might just get like stranded out here. What happens
game,
then?
Baby, sorry.
I was terrified. And so I I couldn't slow down because that was going to burn more fuel to like push me backwards. And so I landed on the other planet going like 1,000 miles an hour. Just way too fast.
Coming in hot.
I came in very, very hot, but it was great. It was super fun. And essentially the idea being that you unlock all these sort of like items in a tech tree to allow you to be able to do what I just did, where you go from one planet to another, and then eventually you're going to be able to like set up logistical systems that take resources from one planet to put them onto another, or vice versa. And then, you know, with the intention of eventually building these big rigs out in front of the sun to like get more energy and shit.
Yeah.
It's a good video game. I wasn't expecting to enjoy these kind of games at all, but they're very much scratching an itch that I didn't know existed.
It's the itch you needed.
Really, like it's surprising. I didn't know that this was a genre of games that I was going to enjoy at all, but here we are. I really like this. Yeah, that's it. I will certainly keep playing Dyson Sphere Program. Anyway, David,
hell yeah.
This is all going to bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Yeah, and that is?
It's the humble technology tree, David.
The tech tree.
The tech tree. Love this. I love this. I feel like you see it a lot in Civilization. That's a thing that like it shows up in pretty often.
4X games.
Yeah, I think that's probably appropriate. Like you in a lot of games where progress through time is like a big deal. Like tech trees are a thing. And so, you know, this just means like at the start of a tech tree, it is like iron smelting, animal husbandry and shit like that.
Animal husbandry.
Yeah.
You need the tech for that. That's for sure.
Certainly do. By the end of it, it's like, you know, nuclear fission and like spaceports and shit like that. So I love, I don't know, just something about just making forward momentum on a tech tree feels so good. Whenever you get a new thing You're like, ooh, this is going to change the game. I'm so excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I guess, a cousin probably to like the ability tree.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same thing, but
It's a little different.
it's a little bit different. I think usually shows up in like real-time strategy or like you said, 4X games where the things you're unlocking are like a civilization-wide unlock rather than like Aloy can do a fucking backflip or whatever.
Ooh, Aloy can do a backflip?
I actually don't know. I've never
That'd be
seen.
tight.
That would be tight. I hope that's in.
Just do a sweet gainer over a dino.
I hope
Robo Dino.
I hope that's in Forbidden West. A cool backflip. Serves no purpose. Just does one.
She doesn't do it functionally. She just goes in front of people and does a backflip, and they like clap for her. And that's it.
That was cool. Yeah, I love that.
She can raise some money that way.
Here's a couple of. Do you remember the currency in that game? I don't remember.
Dollar?
Dollars.
No.
American dollars are the
American-
currency.
Dollar bill, yeah. No, I don't. I have no idea remember what the currency is.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, love a tech tree. It feels great. And Dyson Sphere program is no exception.
No exception.
Hey, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism this week, David?
I do, and it is online rivalries.
Ooh, I wonder why. I wonder why this is your optimistic thing this week.
Well, Chase, it started off with you in Forza.
Yeah.
But then it quickly shifted to Hale.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because Hale started beating some of my high scores.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to go back and reclaim said high scores.
Absolutely.
And then now Hale has a high score on everything. Long story short, I felt like the little kid throwing a rock at like a golden god, essentially. Hale, no one plays games like Hale does.
It's true. Our friend Hale will just sort of like find a video game and won't hack it, but won't not hack it either. Like, he's not manipulating source code at any point, but there's some times where I feel like he's reaching through the video game to do some special tricks.
It feels like Hale looks at a video game sometimes and it's like, this piece of technology has the audacity to think that I can't control it. And then he just controls it. He becomes the master of the game, truly. The game will bend to his will. That seems to be what he's doing in Forza. It took me like an hour of repeated tries to beat one of his high scores.
Yeah.
And Mallory was watching me this whole time, and she's just like shaking her head, just like, "Is this fun for you?" I'm like, "Yes."
As you're just getting more frustrated. Yeah.
No, it's been really fun. Just like getting a new personal best on any speed trap or danger sign or anything like that, and then quickly checking the leaderboard and be like, "What's Hale doing?" And he's like, in his Porsche, his like fleet of Porsches that he's souped up, like his 911 and his Spider and his Carrera, just like owning everything. I'm just like, oh, you bastard.
Yeah, he's cut your time in half by the time you're like, ooh, I wonder how I did that time. That
I don't even understand. But he's done it. He's gonna go through and get like the high score and everything, I assume. I've been enjoying this game a lot. I didn't know that you could look at the leaderboards between you and your friends. Yeah, if you go onto the mini map and then highlight any event that you've done, if you just press X that says leaderboards, then it'll show you like everybody who's completed this one, where do you rank compared to them? Yeah. If you want to get in on this, make it a 3-way, baby. Let's go.
I'm honestly enjoying my experience of Forza outside of this tense rivalry.
No, get in here. Come on, man. Join us.
I want to drive the car. You guys seem to have some sort of like blood pact going on.
Join us, Chase.
It's a zero-sum game. There's only a certain number of first places that can be awarded.
Yeah, and they're all going to be mine.
I don't have this sort of audacity. I do not think they will be mine. I like this game, and I bet I'm like not bad at it, but like...
You don't look at the game and be like, I will own you.
Yeah, no, I want the car go vroom. I think that's kind of my...
The car does go vroom.
Listen, yeah, if nothing else, Forza Horizon 5 has definitely come down on the side of cargo vroom.
Sometimes it goes vroom, vroom.
Ooh, the double vroom, as they say in the business.
In the biz.
In my favorite movie, Ford versus Ferrari, Matthew McConaughey famously said, "Cargo vroom vroom." That's what pushed him over the edge.
He's not even in that movie.
Is he not?
No.
Oh my God, yeah, you're right. It's fucking Batman, isn't it?
It's Christian Bale.
Matthew McConaughey, in his one cameo in Ford versus Ferrari, said, "Cargo vroom vroom."
I would not be surprised if he was like, Hey, I'm the Texas car maker coming into town. Car go vroom vroom. That's the car I want. Those are rookie numbers.
Gotta get those
They
numbers
get
up.
older, they stay the same age. Other Matthew McConaughey quotes, whatever.
Hey, I'm Matthew McConaughey.
Hey, it's a Matthew McConaughey in here.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
Matthew McConaughey.
okay, we should move on to our main.
Lightning McConaughey.
We have to move on to our main thing.
Matthew McConaughey definitely needs to play Lightning McQueen's evil twin brother in the next Cars 5 movie.
Lightning McScream.
Lightning McScream is a terrifying name.
Yeah, dude.
Thunder McScream.
He's the power of his screams to propel him forward.
So it's like a Monsters Inc. crossover.
Yeah, his mouth is on his back, which is how he sort of shouts backwards to make him go forward.
His mouth is on his back?
There's no law in Cars the movie that says you have to have a mouth on the front.
I mean, I feel like it's an implicit law. It's an implicit law.
Lightning McScream stands in defiance of your implicit law about the hit movie Cars starring Matthew McConaughey.
Can we fit a Chunder McCream in there?
Oh God, Chunder McQueen?
McCream.
This is hellish. We need to move forward. There has to be something else here.
Yeah, there's nothing else but scorched earth in this joke land. Let's move on.
Hey, it's Good Games.
We're in it.
We're in it. It's the segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. If you've seen our fucking cover art, you get it. We're giving new life to these nasty old buried skeletons of video games.
It really is. The cover art really is Good Games, the cover art.
I'm saying, man, it makes sense. Per the last, I think, 3 episodes, we've been on a rare limited kick, and here we are again.
We're back. Rare again. It's not so rare anymore.
It is less rare. It's common. What was it? We did, Blast Core, Cameo, Elements of Power last week. Mm-hmm. And then this week, we're going to do the much maligned Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
This was a challenge.
You had some trouble with this one.
This was a challenge for me.
Good. I'm ready for it. There's I had less of a challenge than I was expecting to, Dave.
We'll talk about it in a second here. we'll discuss.
Yeah. Let me do some hot stats real quick.
Let's hear it.
Hot stats.
Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. It came out November 11th of 2008 for the Xbox 360. Feels a lot later than I was expecting it to, honestly.
A little bit. 2008, yeah. That's like late high school.
It feels like a 2005 ass game.
Yeah.
Like they hadn't quite found their footing.
Looks like one too, kind of.
Let's see. So like we said, it was made by Rare Limited, which we've spoken of before, but just a reminder, they've made games like Viva Pinata, Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, Banjo Kazooie, the first few, and this one, Jet Force Gemini, DK Country, N64, Killer Instinct, all sorts of shit. They're a prolific video game company. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do have a review. And this is a little bit of a switch up.
It's not Joe Video. Is it the Russian people again?
It is Joe Act 2.
What?
ACTU Act 2.
What is Joe? Is Joe game?
I think so. David, I took Spanish and I was bad at Spanish. So
Joe, Juego, kind of similar, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because it's what, Jeux?
Yes, exactly.
Jeux?
Yeah.
I'm going to assume it's game.
It's probably game, yeah.
Jeux acte.
Jeux video being video game.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense. So I do have a review from Jeux Actu. I have taken the review, which was originally in French. I have put it into Google Translate and then just sort of mangled it over the course of many, many languages to eventually arrive back in English. And let me read for you what they had to say about Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts back in 2008.
Let's hear it.
Jeux Actu said, "At least consider the balance in the banjo room. Good and bad, good and bad. Compared to its predecessors, it was easier and more fun to drive a car and build woodwork. This new banjo game is fun, unique, challenging, and challenging. The name of this game is the box that you can take, and the banjo, you can improve it. The tower is very beautiful. On the Viva Pinata example, Banjo Kazooie, speed and lock are free if you just need them. And take a look at the 20 level power configuration. This is not good. 75 out of 100 from Joak 2.
That's a 75 out of a 100 review.
It's shocking that they said this is not good at the end of it. And I feel like that's pretty true to what they were trying to express in the original review.
Not good. Did they say not good twice?
Let's see. There was a lot of repeating sentences in this one. No, just this is not good. Just the single.
I want to go to the banjo room and see what truths it holds.
I would also like to go to the banjo room.
I think it would let me have eyes on the inside if I went to the banjo room.
Oh my God.
And saw that what was good and what was bad.
There's hidden knowledge in the banjo room if you are strong enough to bear witness.
You leave there and just see the giant creepy crawlies on all the walls.
You will not leave the banjo room the same person that entered.
No.
Sort of Ship of Theseus moment. You will be rebuilt from the inside out.
Oh no. Oh no.
Hey, could you tell me what this video game is, David?
This video game is the third installment.
I'm pretty sure,
in the Banjo Kazooie franchise. Third and final, I think. I don't think so far since then. The premise of the game is that there is a bird and a bear who have beaten a witch twice in the previous games. Their last victory was so rock solid and astounding that they have then gotten lazy and fat.
Literally
since the last
fat,
game.
yeah.
So some really sweet, awesome fat jokes in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
They make you feel really good about yourself when you do them.
Yeah.
And also jokes about gamers as well in the beginning of the game, how they're fat and lazy as well, because Kazooie's just like playing games the whole time. Feels weird. Feels a little mean. But anyways, that's the beginning of the game. I digress. Yep. The game is about a bird and a bear building cars and driving around different levels to collect jigsaw puzzles for a godlike electronic being, I should say. And yeah, it's a collectathon. You complete missions in these various different levels with different cars that you can either like create a car for a specific mission, or they create one for you to complete a mission. But it's things like, oh, go deliver this bomb before it explodes, catch these like metal things coming through the air with this magnet that's in your car, or it's just like race this dude around. And that's pretty much the gist of it. You collect more of the jigsaw pieces, and they unlock more different levels for you to go collect more jigsaw pieces until you get to the final level, and then you beat the game. That's the gist of it, I think.
No, I'm pretty sure that's it. It's like there's sort of similar to other Banjo Kazooie games. Like there's a pretty high emphasis on the levels being very different from one to the next. And so I think a lot of the interest, at least initially, is like just being able to see what the next part of the game holds.
Yeah.
I think the conceit is that you're in this like highly advanced computer's brain whenever you're going into these like specific levels.
Yeah, he's like created these worlds somehow.
Yeah. I think he's like, they're like a big fan of like Banjo and Kazooie and like video games. And so
yeah. Because if you look up, you see that it's all like electronic metal encasings in these worlds, and everything has like a metal tint to it.
Yeah, it's a little disconcerting, honestly.
Yeah, even though it's like trying to be like a foresty level, it's like this is just a metal tree that's made to look like it's leaves and wood.
It's nuts and bolts, baby.
It's nuts and bolts, baby.
Yeah, I think that's about the gist of it, honestly.
Pretty straightforward.
You said you didn't love this one.
I had some trouble with it.
Yeah.
Besides the very poor taste fat jokes in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a rough way to start.
Where Banjo can't go more than a couple feet without being out of breath, and when he jumps and hits the ground, it like shakes everything around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't feel great to me personally.
Sure. Yeah.
The going between this and Forza Horizon,
I know,
was a shocking difference.
Yeah.
Shocking difference.
It's hard to play them next to each other.
It's like listening to a professional orchestra and then going to hear like a first grade recorder recital.
Yeah.
Essentially. Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Nuts and Bolts is kind of trying to embrace kind of like the recorder recital aspect of it, because it's very much like these silly haphazard cars that you just slap together.
Yeah.
I played for a good bit, I feel, like a couple hours, and I didn't get any new parts. Like I was stuck with the basic ass car that I had for quite some time, and it wasn't particularly fun to drive or use. in my opinion. It was silly, and I did enjoy like going down. Oh, sorry, I'm going into the gushing part.
Please. No, I mean, that's the point of it.
Well, I did enjoy going down steep hills because you pick up some good speed.
You go fast, yeah.
Felt good. And then Showdown Town, I was going down a hill, and I accidentally hit a penguin, and he went flying and made a funny sound.
Yeah.
And that was probably my highlight of playing this game, was accidentally running over this penguin. Yeah. And then he gets up and he's like, come on, man, everybody loves penguins, was essentially his rebuttal to me hitting him with my car. It's just a strange game. It's a strange game.
It's very bizarre.
Like, why are there only rhinos and penguins in Showdown Town?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, like the game certainly doesn't lean on logic all that often.
No, it doesn't.
And like partially back in the day, why I liked the first few Banjo Kazooies was because they broke the fourth wall so often. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much looking at the camera and winking, and like I know that is definitely not some people's first thing that they reach for or enjoy. Mm-hmm. But I'm totally cool with that. I think sort of having this like meta humor, I think can be pretty funny. It's a bizarre video game. Like I came into it wanting to come to the defense of this game because it was so maligned, and like
it was pretty universally panned in the media.
Yeah, when it came out. There were some differing reviews. I did look at like sort of like what the history of people reviewing this was, and it wasn't all this game sucks. There were like some people saying like this isn't bad, but I think it was like very popular to shit on this game. Sure. In like kind of the early 2010s, you saw like a bunch of YouTube videos of people just being like, "What were they thinking?" And like, it's fine
with that voice and everything.
Exactly, and like that's definitely not the way that I wanted to approach it. But I agree that like it's challenging playing it and being like, I wish that there was something else here. So I did a little bit of like reading about the development of this game, and initially they had built a game that was much closer to what a, I guess, quote unquote normal Banjo Kazooie game would have been. Mm-hmm. A lot more rooted in like the collectathon stuff.
Yeah.
But at some point they found the sort of like car building part of it and like went with that. And I like the car building stuff. I wish it wasn't in a Banjo Kazooie game. Like I wish Rare had wrapped that up in sort of a different package.
Sure.
And maybe iterated on it a little bit more, because I think like that is pretty fun. Because you were saying that like you didn't get a lot of car parts for like 2 hours. I feel like they should just be hurling car parts at you.
Yeah,
like
just
throwing
go for
so
it.
Much shit. Yeah, like just immediately being able to be like, okay, I have my normal car, but they're just throwing shit at me that or like blueprints or anything like that, to the point where you immediately have like 5 or 10 different like kind of cars that you could build.
Yeah. Because
I think what they were hoping to lean on there is like the player creativity. And, you know, the success of something like Kerbal Space Program is a testament to people that people will play that kind of game.
Yeah.
I saw that some of the designers, like in hindsight, have said like, we were some of the first people to do this kind of game. Mm-hmm. And I think that is actually fairly true. Like you have some kind of other stuff. You got the gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts.
Sure, you sure do.
But it's interesting.
That's a good. That's something you want to be compared to favorably.
I don't think so. I think it is interesting to put those two things next to each other, like player creativity in interacting with a very real physics engine. To like, does your car even go? And like, what's that game that you like build a bridge for a car to go over? Or
I know what you're talking. I don't know the name, but I know what game you're talking about.
Feels sort of similar. Of like, you're trying to just like figure out the physics enough to make something go well. And when you figure out something like sublime, it's like, holy shit, this is very fun. Mm-hmm. Like I've managed to make like a one-wheeled motorcycle or something like that. Like it can be great. And so anyway, yeah, like I was coming into it hoping that it wouldn't be that bad. And I don't think it's terrible. I sort of just like wish it was more of what it was doing and less of Banjo Kazooie. Mm-hmm. Like it felt like the very first 15 minutes were very Banjo Kazooie, and then it turned into something very different.
Yeah, and I felt like it knew that. It felt like it knew that we wanted, or not, maybe not wanted, but we're expecting like more Banjo and Kazooie collectathon stuff. They're like, no, we're gonna do something different. Get ready. Yeah, it's and I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of kind of like the tone of that writing personally.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a little snippy. It felt like whoever was writing it maybe it wasn't happy about doing that, in my opinion. But it was interesting that the first 15 minutes were Spiral Mountain. There's Spiral Mountain, and then it's the regular world, and then they take you somewhere else completely different, which I see why they do that to make it unique. But I don't know if it was the world that they took you to didn't seem quite as groundbreaking as the original Banjo Kazooie world was when we first interacted with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a ton of thoughts about that sort of stuff because like the worlds that they present you with feel very like empty. Like they're very quiet and like big and vacuous. And like one of the hallmarks of those original Banjo Kazooie games was the levels felt very dense. And like there is interesting shit going on at almost every corner of those levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's aided by the collectathon stuff. Honestly, like there are notes in every part of the level. There are
forces you to explore everything.
Yeah. And so I've been watching a unconscionable amount of Tim Rogers recently. Like I've watched almost all of the Action Button reviews, which is like 20 hours of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he oftentimes will break games down by their flavors, which I find like fascinating.
Flavors like spicy, umami.
No, he says typically that good games have at least two flavors that they are bringing. And the example he usually gives is Doom is search and destroy are the two flavors that it brings.
Sure.
That Doom relies very heavily on destroying, which is just, it's killing the fucking demons, man. Like that's part of it.
Yeah.
But there is a second part of Doom that is like looking around a level for like the secrets and looking under in corners and sort of like poking around. And you can see that pretty easily in both the original Dooms and the most recent few, that like secrets and sort of interesting parts of the levels are there. And also like shooting demons is still fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is why those games did very well recently. Like the remakes were like, we know what was fun about the original Dooms. And I was trying to think about what the first few Banjo Kazooies did as far as like flavors go. The best I could come up with was that they were explore and collect are the two like main things that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if does that feel like right to you? Is there anything I'm missing there?
Explore and collect. That sounds about right.
The levels are usually a spectacle in a way that is like every one of them feels very different. And so you're encouraged to explore. And the way that they encourage you to explore is by collecting either at a top level of the puzzle pieces or at a lower level, like, oh, there's a jingo over there or a note up there. How do I get up there?
Yeah.
And then that forces you to explore. And then once you get up there, you'll see some new shit that you want to go collect. And so it forces you to go over there. And I think those two things play off of each other really well. Whereas with this one, it feels like they've changed both flavors.
Yeah.
Now it feels like build and like work almost. Like,
sure. Yeah.
The missions oftentimes break down into like, I need you to do this task for me.
Yeah. It's like build and acquire.
Yeah, I think that's probably true because it doesn't feel like a collectathon, right? Like you aren't just running into stuff sort of naturally. It's like, I need to collect. I think they're still using the puzzle pieces, but you essentially get like paid for doing missions.
Yeah, you get paid in jigsaw pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it feels like a pretty big swing to take what like the first few verbs of those games were and just totally change it. I was the two examples that came up to me when I was trying to think about this thing was how different Uncharted 1 and 4 feel, despite the game being largely exactly the same. Like the verbs in Uncharted are so similar in the first and fourth one, right? Like it is traverse this space and then shoot some dudes and then watch a cutscene. And that's kind of it, right? Like it's exactly the same in both of those games, but they feel totally different, like tonally and what they're saying and the story, and like it's essentially just like an elevation of what they're already doing.
Yeah.
And so like it can be good when you're doing exactly the same stuff, but when you're making these huge shifts from something, say like Super Mario World to Mario 64, those shifts are like seismic, right? Like in Super Mario World, it was you have to go from left to right, not die, and get to the end, right? Like that was sort of the verbs of the game, jumping. and stuff. But in 64, it was a lot more meta in a way. Like you have to go to these levels and accomplish tasks to collect stars, but there are a lot of meaningful decisions that you make along the way of like, okay, which one am I going to do? How am I going to approach this? Like, how do I jump? Which way do I go? All that sort of shit. And so there was a really big shift there. And luckily they had a really good game on their hands. And so like that transition worked. But I feel like that doesn't happen very often when a game totally changes what it is doing and it comes out okay.
Yeah, not common when you can just shift tonally and mechanically and still succeed.
And like, I really don't want to encourage games to not shoot for the moon or try something new, but I think the past few years have really changed my mind about that. Like, you can do very similar shit mechanically and still make a just outstanding video game.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Ratchet and Clank, the most recent one for PlayStation 5, was doing anything like mechanically or flavor wise very different than what it was doing before. It just did them so well and so elevated that it was like, this feels like a very different experience than the ones that were on PlayStation 2.
Yeah. This is new wheel. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They just made a real good wheel.
Yeah. And I think that doesn't, I don't know. I think I am scared of going back to 2013 when we were just all making the same fucking Call of Duty likes over and over and over again. I really don't want to like harp on trying new stuff and being creative. But I think if I'm trying to be podtimistic about it, I also don't want to shame people for just doing something that works really well as well.
Very true. And I think there is something there with the cars, with the modding and everything. I do agree on that, but I think they just kind of got stuck halfway between making a traditional Banjo and Kazooie game and halfway between that and making this car game that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like it's more a victim of maybe not wanting to go out on a limb and making like a new IP to do this car game and trying to put it into a Banjo game so people would actually go and try it. Which is also kind of speaking to the state of the industry at the time as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But, maybe that would have been a great like indie game nowadays. And that was before indie games were big. So it's hard to say like where do these good interesting new ideas go at this time period with the restrictions that there were.
Yeah, I think that's true. It definitely feels like an artistic restriction that they weren't really allowed to do something totally different, but they wanted to try something new. And so like, this is sort of what you get, right?
Yeah.
That at the time, it's very hard to reinvent the wheel because I think we were pushing up against games having to, I wouldn't say mature, but like understand what makes them special and really leverage that. Again, I think you see that much more, that is used much more commonly now and for better, right? I think the Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, nearly identical flavors to Uncharted, the same sort of thing, right? Like you move through a space, you traverse some physical puzzle kind of, maybe shoot some dudes, and then you get some cutscenes, right? Like that core element of those games are so similar, but the tone is so different. Like they're just such totally different games.
Yeah.
And I think that's like partially a good thing, right? Like you'll get games that maybe they are sharing some base aspect, but they end up coming out very different. Whereas it seems like that room to explore was not really there at the time. Because like you see games like this now, right? Like again, I'm forgetting the name of it, but that game where you essentially are building like a siege engine that you have to like go take down a castle with, and it's just like you build it out of like very basic parts that just sort of move forward. Like those games are popular. Kerbal Space Program is like a very big game, and those are sort of relying on similar tropes here of you have a certain amount of building blocks, and these are the things that you can build, and essentially you have a goal at the end of it. Something like Minecraft or something like that is much more freeform, whereas these games are, your goal is to get into space or something, right? Your goal is to build a rocket. Like this game where it presents you with missions and like you have to build a thing for that. And so like those games have found a home. It just seems like maybe they were either too early to the show or like too late, or I honestly think like it being a Banjo Kazooie game is just like the hardest part about this.
Yeah. It shouldn't have. I don't think it should have been a Banjo Kazooie
I know
game.
it's such a bummer to like lean on like this isn't the thing, but like I think it is fair at some point to say like this really isn't in the spirit of what made these games special in the first place.
Yeah, that's why the beginning felt so strange to me. Where it's like, hey, we know what you want, but we're gonna give you something different, totally different. Sorry. So. Yeah. It seems like there's just too much thinking went into this game potentially. You know, they overthought it and they started putting too much stuff in it, I guess. But it's still, you can still see the good bones. You can still see the good bones deep inside.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like I think again, leaning on player creativity is almost never a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to build a space that actually feels good for them to do that in.
Was there any sort of like sharing your designs over Xbox Live in this game?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Because that would have, because imagine if you could do this a la Forza, right? Where you can just download somebody's blueprints and build it.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I have seen some wild shit. I was watching clips of people. Eventually you are able to make like airplanes and shit, which rules.
That's cool.
It is very cool. I was like, damn, I wish they led with that.
Yeah, right.
People make like wild ships and shit like that. Stuff that is just like flying through the air, it's great. Like that part of it is such a cool idea, especially for, 2008. Like games like this were not coming out at the time.
That's real.
Yeah, they were wildly authored experiences. It was like GTA 4 came out then, Gears of War 2. Let's see. Yeah, God of War, Chains of Olympus, Dead Space, Resistance 2, Fallout 3.
It was a big time for AAA games.
Yeah. And like very, very like authored AAA experiences. And I don't know, you would think that they would be kind of like understanding that. Metal Gear Solid 4 also came out that year. Again, Hideo way ahead of the curve on that one.
That came out the same year as those other games?
I believe so, yeah.
That game ages so well.
Metal Gear Solid 4 was on some other shit. Again, Hideo was way ahead of the curve of like, he was already in conversation with like his own video games in the fourth one.
I mean, Strand type games are going to be all the rage like 20 years from now. Just you wait. Hideo ahead of the curve again.
I feel like you're seeing that already, man. Like this, like these like shared multiplayer universes and shit like that. It's good stuff.
Is that what a Strand type game is?
Sort of, yeah. Like I think, yeah. If you're looking at Death Stranding, it is sort of asynchronous multiplayer game where you are able to interact with other players cooperatively or not in a way that doesn't require you to be like in a death match, right? In Death Stranding, you can build a highway and people will use that after that. Or, I think they took a lot from Dark Souls in the way that you can just be going through your run and somebody shows up, they invade your space and you have to fight them right there. That sort of stuff. That's not traditional multiplayer. I can do other people's challenges in Forza 4 or Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, you sure can.
It might be a Strand game. It might be a thing.
might be a Strand game. It's pretty cool.
I feel like I spent a lot of time talking about how this game is complicated, and let me just say some very simple things about Banjo Kazooie. The planes are fun. It is goofy and silly, and I like that. I do not dislike the sort of newer designs that they had for Banjo and Kazooie. I know that people are sort of mixed on them and they're like, it doesn't look like the old one. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I don't care if they need to like evolve visually. Definitely not as like Nintendo-y as it was back in the day, but Rare is owned by Microsoft, baby. They just put out Cameo a few years before. They need to look edgy.
We need to be edgy again. We gotta make fun of gamers a bit in the beginning again. We gotta be edgy.
I don't really mind the updates to their characters at all.
I hear you.
Let's just like not make YouTube videos dunking on video games, huh? 2010. I'm looking at you.
Was it a big dunk fest on YouTube?
Yeah, there was some time where it was like, just like I said, that's a popular thing to do. Just go shit on nuts and bolts for a while.
People just trying to build their brand, baby. Got to get the viewers in.
That's true. Oh, cool. Do you have anything you want to sort of end on with nuts and bolts?
Yeah, I wanted to like it more than I did. It just needed to give me a little bit more, a little bit quicker for it to keep my interest. But there is a good game in there somewhere. In my opinion. Yeah,
no, I totally agree.
I didn't personally have a great time with it, but
yeah,
I recognize that there is a kernel of fun to be had.
It's there if you look for it. You just have to look pretty hard.
Yeah. It's like the Sacramento of video games.
Oh, man. There's
fun stuff here. You just have to find it.
You just gotta
try to find it.
It's buried. Oh my gosh. I agree with you. I had fun at moments, and I think that there is a very good game in here somewhere, but it's not easy to find all the time.
Yeah. You got to put a lot of work and effort into finding that good game.
Yeah. Again, I think chasing this game with Forza Horizon 5 is such a stark comparison.
Real brutal.
It's Forza Horizon 5, literally a fun driving game. It is so constantly trying to be like, come have fun over here. It's cool over here. It's going to be really fun. And they're constantly offering you ways to do that.
And they're constantly fulfilling that promise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're not lying.
They're not
saying, yeah,
it's
not
real.
a jest.
It's legit.
It is actually very fun.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about this one. It was an interesting one.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was fun. We're on Twitter at Podtimism. Tweet at us. Look at our feed.
Yeah.
Interact with us on there.
If you want to.
If you want to. Sorry, I'm being kind of aggressive with this right now. I don't know why. You can also email us at podtimism@gmail.com.
That is true.
If you want to use the boomer way of internet communication.
Wow.
I'm
Spicy.
feisty right now. I don't know why.
Spicy in the outro.
I think it's the kombucha. It was pineapple chili hard kombucha with a hint of ginger.
Ah.
So I'm all my gut microbiome is fired up right now, and it's this is apparently what happens.
I'm ready to do this fucking
outro. Let's go. You can also like the podcast or follow it or subscribe to it or whatever it is you can do with podcasts on your podcasting app of choice. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. just say you like it. Just go outside on your balcony and say, I like video game optimism. Just announce it to the world.
Yeah.
It's good for you. And then also thank you.
Also, thank you. A quick addendum, if you want to help the show grow.
I said leave a
bit,
review on Apple Podcast.
You can show a friend if
also
you would
show
like
a friend.
To. Yeah.
I didn't say that one. Go for it.
That's fine. But a welcome new segment of the outro.
Whoa!
Thank you, Scout, for
Thanks, Scout.
her work on our podcast art, which we will say every week from here until the death of the podcast.
All right. Perma shout out, Scout.
Perma shout out.
Some of the best onions I've ever seen in my life.
Both fresh and French onion, Larry, were driven or drawn.
Driven into my heart.
Yeah, go to ko-fi.com/humblegoat if you want to buy her a cup of coffee or commission. I don't think she has any slots open right now, but those are open sometimes and well worth it. So go do that. If you want to get a fucking commission of your dad, you can do that there, I think.
Commission of your dad?
Scout, I'm sorry if you don't offer that service yet. Sorry if that's not something you do. Because there will be a weird request in your DMs from some dude that we know.
I want a picture of your dad with his back turned, shirt off, with his lion tattoo.
That's a real situation David has witnessed in real life. So that's not outrageous.
I want to hang that in my house. Put it out there.
If you, I'm saying you could probably get that.
Probably could.
Again, I don't. This is all at the consent and admission of Scout Wilkinson. So, gotta run by her first.
This one's too weird for me. I can't do it.
This sucks, actually. I don't like this. Anyway, thank you, Scout, for your hard work, and we will continue to give credit where credit is due because you fucking killed it. And also, for the listener, hey, hi. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We greatly appreciate it. For you spending your hard-earned time here with us.
Thank you.
In the podcast zone, in the pod space.
Welcome to the pod space.
Yeah, that's it. You're the best.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who were you doing the outro?
I was doing the outro.
Do you want to do video game wisdom or should I do video game wisdom?
Let's do you say a word and I say a word. Okay.
Yeah, love those. Let me speak in the question. David, do we have any gaming wisdom for us?
Yes, we do, Chase.
This is some Chet the Rat ass shit going on right now.
Terrifying. Okay. I'll start.
Okay.
All
of
the
Podtimistic
Ding Boys
love
Satisfactory
and
Dyson
vacuums. That's pretty shit wisdom, if I gotta say. That's more of a statement than any sort of wisdom.
So, if we're looking at Podtimists Ding Boys, there's one here right now. So, do you like Satisfactory and Dyson vacuums, Chase? Is this true?
There's a Dyson vacuum like within arm shot. It should be in here. I have a Dyson vacuum around me.
But for real, those Dyson vacuums are so good.
Those wireless hold on, yeah. Can we switch? Can we? I need to shout out the Dyson vacuum.
This
program.
is the vacuum
God
cast now.
Damn, those things are
the
on
animal
some other shit. The like wireless charging vacuum. It's crazy what they're doing with these things.
It makes vacuuming enjoyable. You didn't think it'd be done.
Whenever I see dust on the ground, I used to be like, oh, no, not this again. But now I'm like, you're going down. It's
down.
over for you.
Crumbs out of here.
No problem.
Dirt, see you later. Spider webs, sayonara.
The other day, I vacuumed my couch. I just put that thing on the couch, vacuumed it out.
Bro, I vacuum my couch probably every other day.
To be fair, that is a lot of vacuuming.
I do a lot of vacuuming in this home.
Again, it makes it good. It makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
It makes like space age sounds whenever I turn that thing on too. If you just give it like a little pump, it'll go like, woo. I'm like, that is so cool. I love this vacuum. I'm sorry for anyone. I was going to qualify that. I think I'm just sorry to anyone, but like, goddamn, if you are a avid Dyson enjoyer, this is for you.
Spheres or otherwise,
and specifically vacuums. Goddamn, those are some good machines. If you can save your money up, because they are, I will say, a little bit more expensive than I want to pay for a vacuum. But the return on investment, I'm going to have this thing in my grave, David. I'm going to be buried with my Dyson.
Bury me with my Dyson and that's it.
I got to go clean up the afterworld.
Jesus needs me to clean up for him.
Hope your week is going good.
Be going better once I clean this couch up with my Dyson.
Dude, sure. I'm ready to go vacuum. I got to go.
Let's do it.
Okay, bye.
See ya.